Hello and welcome to the 41st episode of Jazzology, presented by Savage Content. I'm your host, Willard Jenkins. We're here alternating Fridays, giving two jazz fans the opportunity to compete against each other for a chance to win $100. Each contestant will be asked a question worth 2 points. If they're unable to answer correctly, their opponent will have a chance to steal the question for 1 point. We'll ask 10 questions, and at the end of the 10 questions, the person with the lowest score will get a bonus question for the opportunity to tie the score. If they're successful, the game will go to sudden death. The person in the lead at the end of regulation will go first, and each contestant will take turns trying to answer the sudden death multiple choice question until we have a winner. And now let's meet this week's contestants. Our reigning and new Jazzology champion is Cara Roosh, who is also known as Slim in the music business. Slim is a jazz fan who has written jazz columns and has been hosting jazz shows on WRCU at Colgate University in Central New York. And Slim is also a marathoner. Slim, are you ready to defend your Jazzology championship?
I am, I think.
All right. Well, our challenger for this 41st episode of Jazzology is Doug Lillibridge, who is the president of the board of directors of the Cincinnati Contemporary Jazz Orchestra and a board member of the Cincinnati Jazz Hall of Fame, a man after my own heart involved in the not-for-profit jazz world. A retired jazz saxophonist, Doug is also one of the hosts of All That Cincinnati Jazz on WMKV radio and streaming at WMKV.com. He's worked in broadcasting for 43 years and hosted jazz radio programs throughout the Midwest, as well as produced nationally syndicated jazz programming. He's an Emmy-winning executive producer at WKRC-TV in Cincinnati. And Doug, I bet you knew one of my mentors, Oscar Treadwell.
I knew him a little bit. He passed a few years ago.
Yes.
Oscar was a complete gentleman, and wow, the stories he could tell.
And the classic jazz broadcaster.
Yeah.
Yes. So you ready to play Jazzology, Doug?
I hope so.
All right. Let's get to today's Jazzology questions, and as our reigning champion, Slim goes first. Slim, Name the country of origin of the following jazz artists: Camila Meza, Claudia Acuna, Carmen Barros, and Melissa Aldana. Are they from Brazil? A. B. Argentina. C. Venezuela. D. Colombia. Or E. Chile?
Are they going to put the questions back up on the...
Would you like me to repeat it? Name the country of origin of the following jazz artists: Camila Meza, Claudia Acuna, Carmen Barros, and Melissa Aldana. Would it be A, Brazil, B, Argentina, C, Venezuela, D, Colombia, or E, Chile?
I feel like last 2 weeks ago on the show, I think Brian mentioned Aldana and where she was from. I should have been paying more attention. I think it's B, Argentina.
Argentina? Argentina is incorrect. And Doug with a chance to steal the points or to steal the question for 1 point. Doug, name the country of origin of the following jazz artists: Camila Meza, Claudia Acuna, Carmen Barros, and Melissa Aldana. Are they from A, Brazil, B, Argentina, C, Venezuela, D, Colombia, or E, Chile, and B, Argentina has been ruled out.
I feel like Brazil's too obvious. And the other three are a toss-up. I don't know why, but I'm going to take a wild guess and say Colombia.
That is incorrect. Those artists, they being Claudia Acuna, Carmen Barros, Melissa Aldana, and Carmen Meza, they are from E, Chile.
That's what.
So we're deadlocked at 0-0. And Slim, you're up next. Oh, excuse me, Doug, you're up next. Doug, which of the following tunes was written by NEA jazz master saxophonist Benny Golson? Did Benny Golson write A, That There, B, Are You Real, C, Gingerbread Boy, D, The Soulful Mr. Timmons, or E, Mosaic?
Oh my gosh. Benny Golson is one of my all-time favorites. Lots of albums. And I know it's not That There. And I was really hoping this would be easier. I tend to think it's not Mosaic because of when that was recorded and with whom, but I could be completely wrong because everybody played Benny's tunes. When I think of Mosaic, I think of Art Blakey. It doesn't. I tend to doubt that he wrote a tribute to Bobby Timmons, but he might have. I'm going to say B, Are You Real?
And that is correct. That is correct. As you surmised, most of those tunes, except Gingerbread Boy, are related to Art Blakey's Jazz Messengers. And Benny Golson was, of course, a proud member of the Messengers. And indeed, he wrote Are You Real? And he did not write That There. That was Bobby Timmons.
Yeah.
And you mentioned The Soulful Mr. Timmons. That was written by James Williams during his Messengers days. So, Slim, are you ready?
Yeah.
All right, Doug is up. It's Slim's turn. And Slim, tell us, Billie Holiday did not record for which of the following record labels? Would that be A, Commodore, B, Columbia, C, Blue Note, D, Capitol, or E, MGM?
So I know she was with Columbia and Commodore let her out of her contract to do Strange Fruit, so those are out. I feel like there was an MGM. I think it's C, Blue Note.
That is correct. And Slim has tied the score. Your turn, Doug. Doug, which of the following jazz musicians was born Stephen Norman Lockritz? Was it A, Steve Gadd, B, Steve Wilson, C, Steve Swallow, D, Steve Lacy, or E, Steve Terrell? It's all about Steve.
That's a real surprise. That's even true for anybody. I don't think it was Steve Gadd. I mean, Steve Lacy seems logical given the last name, but I wonder if that's just a trick. I'm gonna go with the Steve Lacy.
That is absolutely correct. The late great soprano saxophone specialist Steve Lacy was indeed born Stephen Norman Lackritz. So Doug scores 2, and the score is now Doug 4 and Slim 2. Slim, which of the following artists made a recording featuring the songs of the great Brazilian singer-songwriter Ivan Lins? Would that be A, Herbie Hancock, B, Wayne Shorter, C, Flora Purim, D, Terrence Blanchard, or E, Ileana Elias?
You know, Ivan Lins just came out with a record.
Yes, he did. It's beautiful.
Yeah. And I know a lot of people have covered him on albums. Man. I'm going to say E. Elaine Elias.
That is incorrect. And Doug with a chance to steal the point. Doug, which of the following artists made a recording featuring the songs of the great Brazilian singer-songwriter Ivan Lins? Would that be A, Herbie Hancock, B, Wayne Shorter, C, Flora Purim, D, Terrence Blanchard, and E, Ileana Elias has been eliminated?
Yeah, and that would have been my guess too. It sounds like something Herbie would do, or Terrence. But I'm going to say C, Flora.
And that is incorrect. The correct answer to that question is, you almost had it, D, Terrence Blanchard. Jazzology is brought to you by Savage Content. Savage Content is building music, art, and creative content for the soul, spirit, and empowerment. This week's spotlight is on the number of new artist interviews now available at Savage Content's YouTube page. Look for backstage green room artist interviews like a recent one with trombonist Steve Toure discussing Dizzy Gillespie, and Benny Benack sharing a Tony Bennett story, plus many more. One will also find a treasure trove of exclusive content of jazz stars performing live at venues like New York City's Cutting Room and the historic Manchester Craftsmen's Guild space in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Visit www.youtube.com/Savage Content to watch these performances, interviews, as well as past Jazzology trivia shows. Our Jazzology new record of the week comes from the very fine young pianist Isaiah J. Thompson. It's titled Power of the Spirit on Blue Engine Records. And now it's time to ask our favorite question. And Doug, you haven't answered this one yet, but tell us, Doug, how did you fall in love with jazz?
I grew up in a musical family. I was the youngest of three boys, and my older brothers played in bands, and my mom played piano, used to teach piano, and there was no way around. There's no getting around music in our house. And when my brothers got into jazz bands in high school, I wanted that so bad, and that started me. I picked up saxophone, started playing saxophone, got with some very, very good teachers, started playing jazz saxophone, and that carried me through probably the next 15 years or so before I put it down because, well, that's another story. But
Did you come up in the Cincinnati area?
For the most part, yeah. We moved here when I was in elementary school, and my dad got transferred again when I was in high school. But yeah, most of my growing up was in Cincinnati, and that was at a time when this town had 6 or 7 jazz clubs, and people were, national acts were coming through here all the time, and people were coming here to make their careers here, and I got exposed to all of that.
Well, I'm from Ohio myself, so I do know that. That's for sure. And Slim, now you're a media person, a writer, and a broadcaster. What keeps you excited about jazz?
There's just so much to follow. Like you can go down the rabbit hole if you're interested in an instrument or a composition or a composer. It just is endless. It's just such a body of wealth. And I feel like with jazz, mostly, like you can listen to it, the same record for several years, or come back to it and you hear there's just so much to hear in it. It's so exciting to me.
You hear something different each time you go to
it.
Yeah.
Or you have more, like, you have more room than for something else in it. Like you hear like, oh, listen to what the bass player is doing. I've never felt like you had to understand jazz, but I always felt like the more you knew about it, the more like involved, and you had your own agency as a listener to listen to it. And it's fun. It's like, it's so interactive, even though, it's you and me and a record or something.
All right. Well, Doug, you ready?
I guess so.
You're up next. Doug, a recent video surfaced on social media of the great songwriter John Lennon of the Beatles playing driveway basketball with which of the following jazz greats? Would that be A, Ron Carter, B, Freddie Hubbard, C, Miles Davis, D, Dexter Gordon, or E, John McClure?
I had no idea that existed.
Yeah.
Just purely because I think it would be so unusual that someone would bother to take a video of it, I'm going to guess and say C, Miles.
That is correct. And for those of you who haven't seen it, look it up. There is indeed a video on social media with John Lennon and Miles Davis playing basketball in someone's driveway. All right, so you got that right, Doug. And Doug is up 6-2. Slim, you got some catching up to do.
I do.
All right, Slim. Which composer is credited with coining the term third stream as a term for a fusion of jazz and classical music? Would that composer have been A, John Lewis, B, Gunther Schuller, C, George Russell, D, Artie Shaw, or E, George Gershwin?
So it's either B or C. Um, I was afraid they would both be on there because I always get. I think they're both heavily involved, and they were both heavily involved in Third Stream. Wow. Boy, which I just narrowed it down for Doug, although I'm sure he probably knows the answer to. I think it's B, Gunther Schuller.
That is correct. And you also I guess you also narrowed it down to New England Conservatory, huh?
Yes. Yeah.
So our score is Doug 6, Slim 4, and it was indeed Gunther Schuller who coined that term, third stream, as the third stream with the connection of jazz and classical music. You know, kind of like the Three Rivers aspect of Pittsburgh, where the two rivers combine to form the Ohio River. All right, Doug. Tenor saxophonist Houston Person remains very active at age 88. Houston Person has not yet recorded with which of the following artists, among the many he has recorded with, who amongst these artists has he not yet recorded with? Would that be A, Ron Carter, B, Grant Green, C, Joey DeFrancesco, D, Jimmy Smith, or E, Horace Silver?
Well, I know it's not A because I have all those albums. They're great. Those two are just fantastic. And I want to say I have him on a Jimmy Smith record. And if I have him on a Jimmy Smith record, then I probably think that he recorded it around that same time with Grant Green. Unless I'm completely wrong about that. And it's the kind of thing that I think he would do with Joey had they ever had the opportunity. So I'm going to guess and say Horace Silver.
Incorrect. And Slim with an opportunity to steal the point. Slim, tenor saxophonist Houston Person, who remains quite active at age 88. Houston Person has not yet recorded with which of the following? Would that be A, Ron Carter, B, Grant Green, C, Joey DeFrancesco, D, Jimmy Smith, and E, Horace Silver has been eliminated?
Well, I'm guessing if you say not yet, there's only an opportunity to record with one of those people, and that would be A, Ron Carter.
And that's your answer?
Oh, yes, A, Ron Carter. Oh.
He had not yet recorded with D, Jimmy Smith.
Really?
Yes. He never recorded with Jimmy Smith. Slim, your turn.
Okay.
Doug is up 6-4. Slim, trumpet great Freddie Hubbard made an album with guitar master Kenny Burrell titled God Bless the Child. Made that recording for which of the following record labels? Would that be A, Columbia, B, Prestige, C, Blue Note, D, CTI, or E, Pablo?
I'm thinking it might be D, CTI.
That is the correct answer. They did indeed. Kenny Burrell and Freddie Hubbard did record together on Kenny's album "God Bless the Child" on Creed Taylor's CTI label. So that is indeed correct. And we are tied at 6-up, going into our final question for Doug. Doug, the vocalist Gretchen Parlato studied music in college at which of the following schools? Would that be A, Berklee College of Music, B, UCLA, C, USC, University of Southern California, D, New England Conservatory, or E, the New School? Which of those schools did Gretchen Parlato study at?
I have no idea. I'm just going to guess and say Berkeley.
Slim.
I was kind of rooting for Doug on that.
The vocalist Gretchen Parlato studied music in college at which of the following schools? And A, Berklee College of Music has been eliminated. That leaves B, UCLA, C, USC, D, New England Conservatory, or E, the New School?
Oh, man. I think it's going to either be D or E, and I'm going to say E, the New School.
That is incorrect as well. Gretchen Parlato studied at UCLA, and she was also a product of the Thelonious Monk Institute Graduate Studies program as well, which was at UCLA as well. So that leaves us tied, and we go into sudden death. And in sudden death, Slim goes first. Are you ready, Slim?
I am.
The book Ornette Coleman, A Harmolodic Life, was authored by which of the following writers? Would that be A, John Zwed, B, John Litweiler, C, Bob Blumenthal, D, Gene Santoro, or E, Howard Mandel?
Yeah, all good writers, but it's B, John Litweiler.
That is correct. And Slim ekes out a win. Slim remains our champion. Congratulations to Slim on winning our 41st episode of Jazzology. We encourage each and every one of you to try your hand and play Jazzology. And if anyone watching out there would like to become a contestant on Jazzology, click the link below and simply fill out the form. You must be 18 years old or older, and be sure to follow us on social media at Jazzology Trivia Show to get all the latest news and updates. Thanks so much to Slim and Doug Lillibridge, and to everyone who joined us for our 41st episode of Jazzology today. Remember, you can check out Jazzology every other Friday at 2:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And if you missed the show live, you can find the archive on the Savage Content YouTube channel. And a little tip there, you can also find Slim in the New York Marathon coming up. So check that out. Thank you all so much for participating, and we'll see you next episode of